And I'll just go through two of them. This is the Sun Temple at Mesa Verde. It's across the canyon from Cliff Palace would be over here, the famous cliff dwelling. But the Sun Temple was an open-air observatory, never had a roof. And it's an Orion correlation, basically. It's not the Sun Temple. I guess it could be the Sun Temple, but it's another Orion correlation. Here's the Giza pyramids superimposed on this, on the Sun Temple. And if you, there's a door here, and if you draw a line through the doorway, it goes right up to the belt stars right there, so on the winter solstice. And of course we have the golden mean spiral incorporated into this structure, which is very elegant structure. They knew what they were doing when they designed this particular structure. And of course at the other end of the chakra is Tuzagut. Kind of looks almost like a Mexican pyramid, the way that the natural hill is accented by the structure. Again, the whole Verde Valley, I think, is the crown chakra. And of course, V bar V, a very interesting spot a lot of you have been to. Okay, Chaco Canyon. Let's talk about Chaco, because it's part of the whole template. How are we doing for time?
You got an hour and a half or so. How much time do you need?
Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about Chaco, because it's part of the whole system, you know. Here's the Pueblo Bonito, and this is an exact north-south wall within 0.2 of 1 degree north and south. Okay. And the Hopi call the star Sirius Ponatsana, which means sucks from the belly or refers to a mammal. Okay. And of course, Sirius is the dog star. Here's Pueblo Bonito. And we will be going there. We'll be there on June 21st. So if you want to join us, that'd be great.
Is there a solstice alignment?
In Casa Rinconada, there's a solstice alignment there, a summer solstice. Apparently one of the, I've never been there during summer solstice, but apparently a light goes into one of the niches. There are a number of niches which I'll show you. And the light goes into one of these niches in the wall, in the curved wall.
And this is at Chaco?
Yeah, it's across from Pueblo Bonito. It's south of Pueblo Bonito.
Isn't that like those spirals that makes the diagram for the summer solstice and the equinox?
Oh yeah, that's a very precise thing. They won't let you go see that anymore because so many tourists have been going up there, since the 1970s. They found it in 1970. And since that time, Anna Sofier is the woman who found it. She was an artist. And she has a website called solsticeproject.org. It's a great website about Chaco, about essays about Chaco, and about the sun dagger. And you know, the precision of predicting the equinox and the summer solstice and you know, the fall and spring equinoxes. It's all there in that one petroglyph. But you can't go up there anymore, because so many boots started to shift these 3 stones up there. There are 3 stones that kind of focus the light onto the panel.
Yeah.
But they began to, you know, so many people went up there that they began to shift. So, you know, only university archaeologists are allowed up there now. So the riffraff can't go up there anymore, like us. But here's a winter solstice window in Pueblo Bonito. Beautiful architecture. Look at that fine stonework. And then they cover it over with adobe, which, doesn't seem right in some way. This is so perfect, Here's a tower kiva in Chetroquetl next to Pueblo Bonito. And the Great Kiva in Pueblo Bonito is due north and south as well, and you see the North Star there. And of course, Chaco was a kind of a clearinghouse for a lot of turquoise jewelry. They found cylinder vessels with mosaic turquoise embedded into it. They found a conch shell trumpet from the Pacific. Abalone shells, they found shell bracelets, so they went, the Hopi and the ancestral Hopi, I should say, went to the Pacific or the Gulf of California. And they also found a number of macaw skeletons. So the whole birds, the scarlet macaw is only found in southern Mexico, in the jungles of southern Mexico, like 1,200 miles away. And they brought these birds up in cages. The whole birds that they brought up and he imported into Chaco Canyon. And they also brought a number of feathers as well. They're highly prized. And of course that represents fertility and rainfall and everything the jungle has that the desert doesn't. This is behind a petroglyph behind Una Vida, which is kind of by the visitor center. It's the Malava, which is a Hopi friend who's spoken here at one of these wise guys gatherings. He's from the First Mesa. He said that this petroglyph was the master of animals. So you see all these animals, and here's the master. And again, Sirius, the dog star, the Hopi call it sucks from the belly, okay? So there's a mammal correlation to this particular site, okay? And some of you might be familiar with Randall Carlson, the geologist. We ran into him and his group touring the Southwest at the same time Graham and I and Asantha were there, and it was great to see them and meet Randall. They're having a discussion. I recorded it, but it didn't turn out, so I couldn't play it for you. Great discussion. But here are those niches I was talking about. A shaft of light goes into one of these niches on the summer solstice. And of course the priest would come up from underneath and would arrive in the middle of the kiva from down underneath. But a lot of people think that there was kind of a darkness to Chaco Canyon. Because, the Hopi have traditions of giants, and they're cannibalistic giants that roamed the Southwest. And I've seen this guy at a Kachino dance. He was pretty spooky because I was standing a little too close. I think it was at Shangopovi. I was standing a little too close to the dancers, and he comes up to me with this rusty butcher knife, and he kind of shakes it at me, and I had to step back. So. But they actually did find a six-toed, I should say, foot bone at Pueblo Bonito. And of course, this biblical reference to 6 fingers and 6 toes are a part of the giant tradition. And there's a petroglyph behind Chaco Canyon that also has 6 toes. So this was an actual human being with polydactyly, it's called. No, polydactyly, I'm sorry. Okay. So I believe that the Chichimecs, the people of the dog, once lived in Chaco Canyon, and then they migrated southward and morphed into the Aztecs. But we have this tradition of dog burials along the border, the New Mexico-Arizona border. Okay. So the largest pueblo in the southwest, or a group of pueblos in the southwest, corresponds to Sirius, the brightest star in the heavens. The dog star. Is this just a coincidence? Another coincidence. Okay, here's the Golden Mean Spiral. Again, you can overlay that on Chaco Canyon. Here's the axis of the canyon. Here's Una Vida, where the petroglyph is back here. The master of animals is back here. Here's one of the first ruins, Peñasco Blanco, up this end, and there's a 1054 supernova petroglyph, or pictograph, I should say, up here. But the axis is along a winter solstice sunrise line. Here's a wider, if you would superimpose the constellation Canis Major on New Mexico, you'd come up with this. Here's Chaco Canyon, Sirius, Aztec and Salmon ruins here, Lobo Mesa right here, the head of the great dog. And other sites here you might have been to along the Rio Grande right here. Here's Taos right here, has a little star corresponding to it. So the stars, of course, are very important. Another star, a starman from New Mexico. There's Graham surveying that. We could go, my book, Journey of the Serpent People, also deals with the Hohokam people in the Phoenix Basin, down here. And there's a line, a non-solstice line, pointing to it, Pueblo Grande. Here's Pueblo Grande. There's a platform mound here. This is a mound that's about 300 feet long and 150 feet wide. 720,000 cubic yards of stones and dirt were hauled without any draft animals, just on baskets on their back. And they hauled this stuff. Here's part of the pueblo here that remains. It's an adobe pueblo, so it kind of melts into the desert. You don't find the ruins intact as you would a stone pueblo. But if you're ever sitting around Sky Harbor waiting for something to do, you go visit a Pueblo Grande. It's within minutes of Sky Harbor. And it's a great little museum. That's what they built on top of the platform mound. Here's my wife Anita standing on top of one of the edges of the platform mound. Again, a ball court, excuse me, maybe I'm talking too much. Do you want to ask any questions while I'm recuperating? Any questions?
Mine goes back a few slides, but it's about the Great Kiva at Chaco and a north-south meridian looking to the pole star. Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Pueblo Bonito, the main wall, that divides it in two, is like 2/10 of 1 degree. I think it's east of true north, so it's pretty precise.
Impressive.
How did they do that? And besides that, there were roads going north and south of Chaco, arrow straight roads going for miles and miles and miles, all the way up to, almost up to Aztec ruins and Salmon ruins. And there's roads going south. So they had this road system, 30 feet wide these roads were. They went over mountains. They didn't go around the mountains. They were completely straight, and they were ceremonial roads. They didn't have any reason for building these roads other than sacred ceremony, north and south.
Interesting.
The
What
line
kind
of
of
road, there's
population?
the footholds cut into the mountain. So you're down a road, there's a foothold.
Oh yeah, it's called the Jackson Staircase, and they built this going up to the northern rim there, above Pueblo Bonito. Yeah, so you know they started about 850 A.D. building pueblos there, and they cleared out. They were gone by 1150 A.D. You know. So they spent a few centuries, and there was a lot of debate of why they left. You know, part of it might have been the cannibalism that was going on in the area, and certain archaeologists have found forensic evidence of cannibalism among the skeletons that they've unearthed.
And Chaco?
In Chaco and north of Chaco. A place called Cowboy Wash, north of Chaco. So you know, the whole area might have been kind of. I think maybe the Chichimecs, the people of the dog, might have been the people responsible, and they enslaved the ancestral Hopi to build these things, and then they moved south into Mexico to become the Aztecs. So after 1150, they moved south, and that's when the Aztec culture was starting to grow in the Valley of Mexico.
What kind of population estimation, is there any feeling for that? Moving 750 million metric tons, whatever, to build a mound.
Yeah. Well, I think there were at least like 50,000 people in the Phoenix Basin, you know. And there was a canal system, for instance. Oh, it's kind of a neat thing. Some say that it wasn't a ball court; it was a dance. It was a dance platform or dance amphitheater. So you have this very cool bowl of the dancers with energy going across every other one. And you can see that at the Hohokam Heritage Center in Chandler. It's a neat little museum with a lot of pots of the Hohokam people.
Could those be the ant people?
Oh, they could, yeah, I think so. They look kind of like because they have antenna, you know.
And Egyptian.
Yeah, it looks Egyptian too.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. So that could be, again, the tradition from the south, the Olmec, the same position as this Hohokam figure. Okay. But what I was getting at here, the canal system was just amazing. Over 500 miles of canals were built in the Phoenix Basin, and the main canals were like 75 feet across and 50 feet at the bottom of the canal and 12 feet deep. So, you know, the size of South Carolina was filled with these agricultural canals. And an early archaeologist says that the scope of the canal project suggests comparisons with the erection of the huge pyramids of Egypt or the great temples of the Maya. So they're that, you know, and now they're kind of covered over by Metro Phoenix. You know, and in fact, some of the canals have been used by the Phoenix water system to bring water.
That's
You know, so you know, and they had these pueblos. There's Pueblo Grande, and there's a number of pueblos that were in the Salt River area. Okay. Here's one of the canals.
How old was that map?
Early, let's see, what does it say? 1925.
That shows trade routes also.
Yeah, right there. Here's a major canal at Snaketown, which I talk a lot about Snaketown in my book, Journey of the Serpent People. Here's an artistic rendition of the building of these canals. Okay, let's head north to the lost city of the dead in Grand Canyon. A lot of people know about Kincaid's Cave. April 5th, 1909, the Arizona Gazette, explorations in the Grand Canyon. It was a major article. And this contract worker for the Smithsonian, G.E. Kincaid, floated down from Green River, Wyoming, down the Colorado River, into Marble Canyon, and past the confluence of the Little Colorado River. And in this region, he spotted high on the cliff face, 1,500 feet down from the rim and 2,000 feet above the river, he spotted this rectangular doorway into the cliff. You know, you just think of these, you know, a rectangular doorway in one of these cliffs. And apparently he climbed up, and the article said with great difficulty he climbed up to this spot. And he entered horizontally into the cliff side, and he went about 60 feet in the tunnel, and then it branched off. And he came to a giant chamber, and they had passageways radiating like spokes on a wheel. And he found oval-shaped doors, ventilation shafts, and a dining hall. This is what the article says, okay? A lot of ooparts, out-of-place artifacts. You know, vases, urns, copper and gold cups, copper weapons, slag and charcoal for smelting, enameled pottery, stone tablets with hieroglyphics, some sort of hieroglyphics, eating utensils, and a granary there. And this article said there were several hundred rooms in this complex, and it could hold up to 50,000 people underground. So perhaps this is where the ant people took to survive the cataclysms. My friend Jack Andrews, who lives not far from me in Tucson, he did these computer-generated representations of what Kincaid found. Kincaid supposedly found a life-size Buddhist statue with a lotus flower in each hand. In another chamber there were warriors' barracks, you know, with copper and gold cups and vases and swords and stuff. In the crypt, they called it. Might have looked like that. You've probably seen this on the internet, because a lot of people have stolen Jack's work, and you know, Jack is in the process of writing a book right now, and he's been in the Grand Canyon. He's been in the Grand Canyon like 25 times, and he's trying to put together this book about Kincaid's Cave. They said, the article states that 42 miles upriver from Crystal Creek or Crystal Rapids, and if you go that way up, you come right here, okay? That's 42 miles up the river, okay? And this is where we think, the group of us that went on this expedition in 2012, think that the Kincaid's Cave is located. And of course, Osiris Temple is another deal here that I'll get to in a little bit. The funny thing is about this whole Kincaid's expedition thing, Charles Walcott was a geologist and paleontologist, and he was a secretary of the Smithsonian Institute during 1908 and 1909 when Kincaid was making this expedition. And he would have received all the artifacts from Kincaid. He was very well connected. He's got a lot of elite connections with presidents and millionaires. But in 1882 and 83, he was alone in the Grand Canyon working for the USGS. He made this map here, okay? He drew this map. So he was all by himself. His assistants got freaked out by the solitude, and they abandoned him. And he was down there during that winter of 1882 and 83. And he might have seen the cave. He might have gone up there and inspected it, but he was by himself, so he couldn't really do anything. And he maybe put it in the back of his mind and said, well, one day we'll come back to it. Okay, there he is a few years later at Grand Canyon. And here's a spot near where that shape is. I'll show you in a minute. We did an expedition in 2012. David Hatcher Childress went with us, and he's much braver than I am. He's right at the edge there. We found these structures out there in the middle of nowhere, close to the rim of the canyon. We don't know what they were, but they're multi-ton blocks, just kind of stacked up like this. Somebody said that they're like sheep corrals, but you know, a coyote could very easily jump over the rocks and get the sheep. You know, that's out there on the Navajo reservation. What is it for? Here's Clifford Mahudi, our friend Clifford, Zuni elder, looking at a small circle like this. Big rocks, you know, what's that for out there? Who knows? If you look on a Google Earth, you can see these tire tracks, and you know, the expedition went to this spot here, and we were right at the edge, and you could see these were pickup truck tracks, but they're arrows straight. And then there's these lines that look kind of like agricultural irrigation, an irrigation system of some sort. Now, why would they make something? It looks like a landing strip or something.
It does.
Nazca line, yeah, okay. Okay, again, if you look at Wupati, north of Flagstaff, and this is a summer solstice sunset line, 300 degrees. It sets over Osiris Temple in the Grand Canyon. Okay, reaches over here to Osiris Temple. Corresponds to Pi 3 Orionis. Beautiful shot, NASA shot. Here you looking, Wupati going this way. Here's Osiris Temple on the rim, the south rim. And here's we'll talk about this in a minute, the Sipapuni, where the Hopi emerged from the Grand Canyon. Pi 3 Orionis, what about that? That's this star here in the shield yeah, it's a shield there. It's only 26 light years away. It's listed in the SETI star catalog. It's among Project Phoenix's best and brightest candidates for having exoplanets and ET life. They canceled the terrestrial planet finder because they ran out of money or something. So they were going to send a telescope to check out this star, but I mean, who instructed the Hopi? Did the star answers come from this particular star in Orion? Another star in the right here, Pi 5 Orion is right here. Here's the Sipapuni. You can see it on Google Earth. It's a natural geological formation. It's a travertine dome, a limestone dome built up with mineral waters. And it's on the north bank of the Little Colorado, about 2 to 3 miles from the juncture of the Colorado and the Little Colorado rivers. Here's the Sipapuni. This is a National Geographic photo, believe it or not. you can get a sense of how big it is. And there's the little Colorado